Igbo Apprenticeship. Could you break it down for us? What does that even mean?
It is one of our ancestral systems of education.
How do we stipulate the contract? Because now we are dealing with money, dealing with trust, dealing with a lot of things there.
They use a concept called swearing off, where the two people engaged will make a pact, a sacred pact, by swearing on an item known as the offer.
J.K. Rowling was saying, if you take these people to the shrine to swear, they will not betray it because they know the consequence of that.
Between you and your chief, there is that agreement that I'll follow the path I'm supposed to follow, and then I will receive the blessings that I'm supposed to receive, and I'll have the gift to actualize with my own hands.
They have put a knife in that thing that is holding us together. Everything is falling apart. Something that is very important to us, which is about our culture. But there is something really very important about the conversation of today, that we are looking also at community development. And when we talk about community development, entrepreneurship, sometimes we need to always look at the outside. Like we need to look at the Steve Jobs of the world and all of that, because they have this mindset that they have shared with people, their understanding, their development, their profit making, and the rest of it. But sometimes, even within among us as Africans, we also have our mindset that help us to be able to grow. In fact, it has even got to the extent that it has even been studied at different universities. I'm going to be talking about Igbo Apprenticeship. That is a conversation I'm really very happy to talk about today. I have friends, both professors and people with PhD, who will be talking about this argument, because it's something that is really very important for us as a people in Nigeria, because there is something really peculiar about the Igbo people of Nigeria. I don't know if you know of that. The business acumen is unmatched anywhere in the world. So if we were to lay more emphasis on that, it would take Nigeria to a very good, not only Nigeria, we take Africa very far. Because sometimes there are just something about a people that you cannot ignore. So business acumen is one of that. And Igbo entrepreneurship or Igbo apprenticeship is something that is at the heart of this. Of course, I am not an Igbo person, even though I might know about this, but I have the opportunity, the honor of talking to somebody from that culture who's going to break it down for us and help us to understand it. So, Derick, I'm so happy to have you here again. I think this is the this is the third conversation that we are having here, and each of them is a very, very great one. So thank you so much for joining us, brother.
Yeah, no, the conversations have been legendary, Obehi. Thanks for having me. But yeah, man, yeah, it's been a while too.
Let's do what we usually do here, which is talking to the people about who we are first. Let's start from there. Who are you, Derick? What do you do? Sort of give us a little bit background on you.
My name is Derick Ofodirinwa. I am the founder of The Medicine Shell. So The Medicine Shell is my YouTube channel where I teach Igbo spirituality. My intention from the beginning was to teach it in an unbiased, unadulterated form. I'm an avid researcher on the topic. Practitioner. I mean, at this point, within our channel, we've created an entire ecosystem for learning and engaging. And so in my work, I study everything pertaining to Omenala and Igbo, which is Igbo culture. The topic you brought up, apprenticeship, is one that, that comes up a lot. And I, of course, research a lot. And that's more or less it. I've been at this for, I think, going on 5-6 years now. And always a pleasure to come discuss it on the legendary Obehi Podcast.
Well, brother, I appreciate you. I appreciate the good work that you're doing at the Medicine Share. That also is very important for people to understand that there are deep value among us, among our people, among our culture, among our ancestors, something that we need to continuously tap into. So having somebody like you out there who is continuously educating people, not just about the medicine, but about the language, the connection. So this is really very important in a time like this too. And today, of course, we are talking about Igbo Apprenticeship. Of course, as we go into the conversation just now, I will also be showing some example because I like something that you said the last time when we were talking about spirituality. That by the conventional religious tenet that many people will have, when you have something that is different, it's always a conflict. That you say, for example, let's look at the usual suspect. Let's look at Christianity. You say, Jesus said in the Bible that I am the way, I am the light. No one coming to the Father except through me. Well, if you're a Christian, you don't see anything wrong in that. But until you begin to see it from a different perspective, you see that that is a trap that is laid down for conflict. Which is to say, if you are not a Christian, you want to go to God, you are a fraud.
Yeah.
That is, you are on the wrong side of life for you to go to God except you come and pass through Jesus Christ. But in every other deeper spirituality now, you don't need to pass through one person because God can be seen from 360. God is in all of us. God is in you, is in me. I don't need to pass through you to get to him. So from this understanding, you were saying in African spirituality, for the fact that you see it differently, it's not a problem. It just means that, I have another way of seeing the same thing. That is what I mean, that I'm going to be I'm going to be touching something about ASAM entrepreneurship, that even though it might not be as advanced as that of Igbo, I will come to that just now. Now, for somebody that is looking at the conversation of today, Igbo apprenticeship, could you break it down for us? What does that even mean?
Yeah, for sure. So what we're calling the Igbo apprenticeship system today is an ancient, very ancient system. And I want to say ancient because some people try to say that it happened, it started after the Biafra War, and that's not the full story. That's not true. It is an ancient system. It is our ancestral ancient system of one of our ancestral systems of education. The system is properly known as the Odibo system, but we'll call it apprenticeship today. And what this system is a system where when an individual in a family finds success in an endeavor, right? Usually business. But if the person finds success in an endeavor, they have the community obligation to go back to their hometown. Hometowns are usually organized by family, and pull up a member from the family, a child, take them to wherever they're living, and then teach them that exact same system. In the process of teaching that person the system, so let's say I started a phone repair business, and I'm using phone repair because my uncle, that's kind of how he's making his living right now. So I have a phone repair business. My phone repair business becomes very successful. So I go back home. I will bring a young man. Men will train men, women train women. I'll bring a young man up. I'll say that among all the children in the family, I'll pick the ones that are the most honest, the ones that the metric at home often for a good child is if the child goes on chores without complaining. So the child that goes on chores without complaining, the one that's the most honest, and the one that's hardest working, just from among. Sometimes I don't really pick based on those metrics. Sometimes, because this family is poorer than the other families, I'll pick a child from their family, right? There's many different reasons. Maybe the father of one of these children trained me, and so now I'm going to go train them, that kind of thing. So there are different reasons to pick kids, but they'll usually pick one or two, sometimes three, four, five, depending on how big the business is. Once they pick, but in my hypothetical scenario, I've picked one. So once I pick that one child, I'll go to wherever my business is set up, right? And for a period of between 4 to sometimes 7 years, this child will work for me. This child in this process will not be paid to work. This child will live with me when I eat. That's what they're going to eat. They are in total lockstep with me as a person. After about the first, and it differs from person to person, but after sometimes the first few months, but let's call it the first year, I won't even operate my business. This child will be the one operating their business. I'm going to go do my thing somewhere else. Maybe I'll go start another business or whatever, but the child will be operating my business. So oftentimes when you go to a lot of these Igbo businesses, the person running it is not necessarily the person that owns it. That person is in a learning program, right? After about 3 to 4 years, I've heard sometimes 7, this person has now knows everything it takes to run this particular business. We now go back home and we have a ceremony where I will give this child a very large sum of money, right? So let's say at the end of 3 years, I now give this child 6 million naira, 3 million naira, just something, sizable that they can do something with, right? Once I give that child that money, I then help them open their own store of doing the same thing that I train them to do. I help them open their own store. And in the process of them running my business, they have now created personal contacts with my customers. So I naturally expect that some of my customers will go over to this new business, and immediately he has a customer base, he has capital, and he has a thing to set up. Now, culturally, after a few years, maybe 1 or 2 years of running his business, he's now obligated to go back into the community and pick another child to do the same thing. Meanwhile, I'm also going back and picking another child to do the same thing with. And I'm saying child loosely. These are usually people in their late teens, early 20s that are doing it, that are in the programs. And so in using this Odibo system, this becomes a natural way or an indigenous way of educating and training somebody, as well as setting up entrepreneurial systems. Because very often, if, for example, now let's say I fix iPhones and I train this child how to fix iPhones, and then somebody comes to me with an Android, and for some reason he knows how to fix Androids. They'll go, please, can you fix my Android phone? My answer is going to be yes. Right? Come back in 2 days, and I'll take that Android phone and I'll go give it to the person that knows how to fix the Androids. They'll fix the Androids and I'll hand it to you as if I fixed it, right? So, and then of course we share the profit from there. So it's not just a way of learning, but it's also a business system, because after that the businesses are interconnected and always working with and exchanging with each other.
That is truly beautiful, and there is really quite a lot that we can learn from that and tap from that. To be honest, but the let's look at what I want to call, how do we stipulate the contract? Because now we are dealing with money, dealing with trust, dealing with a lot of things there. Could you say something more about that?
Yeah. So no, that's a very good question. So it's interesting too, because this question of trust to me, let me know if I'm biased, but this question of trust, I think, becomes an issue after colonialism. Because you had in the past, and this is my culture, your culture, everywhere, all the way from what we're now calling to Nigeria to what we're now calling Mali. They had this system. I'll use this example where if I'm selling goods, let's say I'm selling mangoes, right? I can take my mangoes, lay a blanket on the street, on the ground near the road, and I'll put my mangoes down and I'll walk away. I can walk away for 2-3 days. Somebody that wants the mangoes will see my mangoes, take a mango, leave the money there, and continue going their way. I come back 2 days later, the money is waiting for me there, right? And I'm using this example because this is very universal throughout Africa, especially West Africa. I'm using this example to show you that in the time that these systems were built, people's approach to community and honesty were far different than they are now, right? I think colonialism and a few things before colonialism eroded that particular thing. But the Odibo system survived even through this eroding 2 ways. One, as you probably know, the opinion of family is sacred in African culture, right? The opinion of family is sacred in African culture. It's very hard to do something in African culture that betrays the family entirely, right? And not paying the person after the Odibo is one of those things. But what actually the concrete, the thing that held the thing together was, in the past, and a lot of families that aren't Christian, they use this concept called swearing awful. They use a concept called swearing awful, where the two people engaged will make a pact, a sacred pact, by swearing on an item known as the awful. An awful is like a staff that's passed down from ancestor to ancestor to ancestor, then passed to your father, then passed to you. So one of the rules we have about the awful, and I call it rule, but it's really just an understanding. One of the understandings we have about the awful is that if you're holding the awful, you can't lie. You do not lie while holding the awful, right? There are natural consequences that come from lying while holding the awful, and no living person will do the consequence to you. It'll just happen. And so when a person uses the awful, it's very rare that a person will swear awful, but if a person swears awful, it is our indigenous way of, let's call it, making a contract between two people, making a bond between two people. Okay. And so for the non-Christian families, swearing awful is still a normal way of conducting the Odibo system. And to tell you the truth, the Odibo programs of those who swear awful work a lot more smoothly than those who just go by, okay, I'll pay, don't worry, right? There are instances where the person doesn't get paid, but I would say they're more rare than the alternative. Another thing in Igbo culture, too, is that your success is based on how many other people you can make successful. Igbo culture is also very competitive, right? Extremely competitive, and competitive with each other, not necessarily with other people outside of our culture, right? And so if I'm doing an Odibo system, if I have a program, I'm doing Odibo, and let's say my brother is also doing the same thing in his business. And after 4 years, he comes back and he has this big ceremony where he gives his child, or no, yeah, his students, 10 million naira, 6 million naira, and then I come back and my own is complaining I didn't give him anything. The amount of social credit I lose, it's almost as if me having the business doesn't even matter, right? Because even if I'm claiming I'm successful, I should be able to do this thing. If I'm not successful, then I've more or less disgraced myself and disgraced my family and that kind of thing. So there's a lot that goes into keeping the thing together, right? Part of it is just the general mentality within the culture. In the end of the day, being able to pay your apprentice is seen as a sign of how capable you as a man are, right? It's just seen as a sign of how capable you are as a man. One of the reasons I even have this business is to show how capable I am as a man. So if I don't pay this person, logically, I've just negated the purpose of even suffering in this business, right? It's very, based on the way our culture is, it's very normal for men to be asked for large amounts of money and then to be able to have to produce that money very quickly. And so forth. So if I'm not able to do that, then it's like almost like I'm not matching up with my peers. So there's a lot that goes into it, and all of those things come together to just make it work.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And this is very important. This is very important. Which angle are we going to look at it? Because now we, Africa, after the colonization, we appear to be children who have never done anything before. But now, what we are explaining is really very deep in the sense of this is high kind of this is our society today, the Western society haven't grown to this level. Let me explain what I mean. To the level that
Right. I
I
agree. I
can
agree.
look the
So go
other
ahead.
way as I trust that you will take care of me. The modern society haven't advanced to that level yet. It's still below that. Because now, how we write a contract, I'm still fearful that you will still cheat me. Despite the fact that we write a contract, I sign, you sign. But now we're looking at a system that everybody know that you are not supposed to cheat. Okay, you see, Jay Rawlings, the former president of Ghana, before his death, may he so rest in peace, said something important that the way to check corruption in African politics, of course, looking at the Ghanaian politics, but this is very easy to be dragged to many other areas now, was we see many of these African politicians coming around with Quran and the Bible and say, I swore that I'm going to defend the people. I swore that I'm going to respect the Constitution. I swore that I'm not going to betray this country. But every now and then they
Yeah.
betray the country and nothing happened because they know that the constitution that they swore to cannot hold them accountable. They know that they can betray the people any day, any time. And he was saying,
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling was saying, if you take these people to the shrine to swear, they will not betray it because they know the consequence of that as against swearing with the
Right.
Quran and the Bible.
Yeah.
Hey, all of you that are listening to me, we are not speaking magic here. We are just simply saying that there is a system bigger, higher, more deep than the Quran and the Bible that you are holding. And
Right.
if you are thinking, you will also know that the Quran and the Bible were copied after African ancient tradition. Don't believe the idea that Moses was in the mountain, God revealed to him. Moses was educated in Egypt. So he know the 10 Commandments because the 10 Commandments is part of the 42 negative confession. So we already know about law before Christianity came. So we are saying that we need to find something among us that can hold us together, that we can use to build where we are going. If we have
Yeah.
trust, there is nothing we cannot do. But if we don't have trust, there is nothing we can do that will succeed.
Man, there's so much I can say on this topic. I hope you have time, right?
Of course,
So,
I do.
buckle in. So, okay, cool. All right. So, what Rollins said, there's one of those quotes that is just like the absolute bone marrow level truth. My dad said the same thing. So I said, me and him were talking about. He's a very funny guy. Just a great sense of humor, and we were talking about corruption in Nigeria. And I said, it's funny because whenever people swear off all, they don't lie. They sincerely do not lie, right? It just doesn't happen. When people go to shrine, they don't lie, right? People, in fact, we had this incident in my family where this younger family member stole the generator of one of my uncles, right? And the uncle was so proud to have that generator. He's not a rich man at all. He was just so proud to have that generator, and all of a sudden it's missing. So he's panicking. He's having a hard time with the situation. He's accusing up and down, right? And he's accusing this specific kid because he feels he's the one that stole it. And so my dad goes, okay, um, since nobody's confessing, let's go to the Okija shrine and see who and see who has the generator. The kid immediately started confessing. Okay, and it was weird. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, right, about colonialism. So there is this idea that African spirituality is scary, right? There are very frightening elements in African spirituality. And to tell you the truth, it's supposed to be that way. It is supposed to be that way. Now, when the colonialists came and they said, here's this thing we have that you don't have to be there, there's no fear involved, right? There's also no accountability involved. There's no accountability. There's no fear. You don't have to play by those difficult rules that you live under. You can now play with these easy rules, just put the water on your head and you're going to go to heaven or whatever they do, right? And so it was easy to get people to switch, especially initially people that were unscrupulous, right? The people who were unscrupulous, the people who society had already deemed as this is not a trustworthy person. Well, you don't need to be trustworthy anymore. Just, follow my instructions and I'll give you whatever you want, that kind of thing. So it created a system now, like in our politics, every politician in Nigeria knows that if they had to go to shrine, nobody's going to lie, but they want to lie. So why would I now switch to this thing that's going to make it so I can't lie? I'm here to steal money. Why would I do this, swearing on this and swearing on that, right? And so you see, there's this understanding at home that these systems work, and these systems are still what we rely on when we want to actually make something happen. But because we have this easier alternative, or this alternative that allows us to be dishonest, for most people, they'd rather be aligned to that, for mouth or just that kind of thing. But they'd rather be aligned to that because they can be less accountable. And when you're less accountable, you can operate any way you want. I can cheat people, I can steal, I can do all these different things, right? And so there is that particular element to it. But even the 42 negative confessions you were speaking about, so we call that, is the same concept I was talking about with the all fall. That process of the 42 negative confessions, we practice it at home as well. In the Igbo culture, it's referred to as igolfo, igolfo. And what happens is, because every man has an ofo, that ofo is your ancestral authority, right? There in Igbo cosmology, we understand that every single person has their own chi, has their own chi, has their own divine force that created them. And that divine force that created you has a reason it created you, and a reason it brought you into the world, right? And because of this, you have this reason. It also gives you these abilities to achieve that reason, right? It also gives you blessings in order for you to make that reason a reality. There's an ilu that says that when a person's chi gives them a yam, it also gives them a knife to cut it. And that's kind of the analogy for understanding it, right? So everything that makes you capable, all of your skills, if you're a good speaker, if you are tall, if you are attractive, if you are good at business, if you are anything all of the things you're equipped with so that you can get the most out of life, it comes from your chi. And it comes from your chi in order for you to actualize this purpose that this chi has. You understand? And so in order for you to have those gifts that you have, in our understanding, our ancestral understanding, they don't belong to you. They're not yours. They don't belong to you. They belong to your chi. Your chi is giving it to you so that you can do what you are and be. And let me say be, and so you can be what you're supposed to be in this world. Okay. Now, between you and your chi, there is that agreement that I will follow what I'll follow the path I'm supposed to follow, and then I will receive the blessings that I'm supposed to receive, and I'll have the gifts to actualize with my own hands to bring those blessings forward. Okay, and that pact is your awful. That agreement is your awful. When you are holding your awful, you're not just representing your ancestors; you're also representing your chi. So if I hold the awful and I start lying, it's almost like saying that God is lying. Right? It's almost like saying that my own God is worthless. Now, those other people who have a God, their God keeps them honest and truthful and is capable, but mine is not even worthy of respect. I can just hold this thing and lie. It doesn't matter. It's like urinating on one of your ancestors' graves, or maybe your father passes and you start urinating on his grave. Right? There's few rules telling you must not do that thing, but we understand intrinsically that what that symbolizes is sacrilege. Right? So that pact you have between you and your awful, or your chi is your awful. It's like it's the agreement. I'll give you these gifts so long as you live your life this way. And universally, honesty is one of them. Universally, honesty is one of them. There are some people whose chi brought them into this world to lie, but that's a whole different story. We can talk about that as well, right? But for most people, honesty is one of them, right? And so, what you do with your awful is you take your awful and you put it somewhere, and in order to reaffirm your mandate in the world, you do negative confessions to your awful. I have not lied. I have not stolen. I have not taken what does not belong to me. I have not deceived. I have not harmed another. I have not made enemies of people in peace. You just do all these confessions, right? You can do as many as you want or as many as you understand. That person in Kemet that did their own, they had 42 that they did, right? Some people can go on for a whole day saying all the things they haven't done, right? Some people say 4 or 5 things and they're okay. Some people say 10 things, aka 10 commandments, and they're okay. You understand? But either way, that process of that thing we saw in Kemet that we're calling the 42 laws of Ma'at, we do the same thing at home, right? We do and that is the core of what makes the Odibo system work. Because you have to continue, if I'm having success in this world, I'm going to continue affirming that I'm still within my contract, within my offer. I'm going to keep affirming and affirming and affirming by making those negative confessions. And by making those negative confessions, I'm letting my chi know that I'm still the person I'm supposed to be. I'm still walking the path I'm supposed to walk, and the blessings will continue to flow on and on and on and so forth. These are universal laws that govern the entire world, right? As the world modernizes, I just from what I've seen, it seems that the powers that be tend to take what makes a human being powerful, what makes a human being whole, and what makes a human being independent. They tend to take those things away, not just in Africa. The Europeans went through way before us. They took it away from the Europeans, right? They took it away from the Native Americans. They took it away from the Asian. Every single group of people, there's this effort to constantly take away the things that make you whole and complete. Because if I'm holding an Ofo, I am a direct representative of my God, right? There's a different way that a person operates when they are a representative of their God rather than a subject or a slave or something that is controlled by their God. Okay. And that way you act when you are a direct representative of your creator is it's not economically viable. It's not viable for a person that wants to control you. It's not viable for turning you into a customer. It's not viable for making you dependent and weak. It's not viable for teaching you to look for power and ability and goodness outside of yourself and not within yourself. So, of course, that's one of the first things they'll try to get rid of. You understand? So, with the Ofo being the core of the Odibo system, of what makes it work, this is that Odibo system itself is it almost needs our traditional spirituality and our traditional knowledge systems in order to survive. So the biggest threat to it is if these things go away, that system goes away. And as people say famously, that system has created more millionaires than Harvard. That system has created more millionaires than probably every school in Nigeria, every university in Nigeria combined, right? So these are the things that are at risk when we lose connection and understanding with our ancestral systems. Our politicians have already let go of this Ofo. Actually, let me correct myself. Our politicians still use Ofo. They still use these things to swear amongst each other, but they do it amongst each other. They don't do it for public good. You understand? They'll swear something along the lines of, okay, I helped you, you must help me once you get into power. They do that all the time. That's normal for them. It's very normal. But I'm now a custodian of the public good. I'm going to use the funds that I received to build this road. They're never going to swear that because they didn't come there to do that. You understand? So, yeah.
Thank you so much for that. That is truly, truly beautiful. Now, what if maybe we could take this idea that is coming from deep ancestral line that have been refined, because this idea have been refined on. What if we have built our economy on the basis of that there is trust, that is honesty for us to be able to operate and organize ourselves in this world? What would that mean?
Yeah. So in order for a society, there are two types of societies, right? There's a lens that you can use to look at societies, which creates two types of societies. There are high trust societies and there are low trust societies. Low trust societies have a difficult time doing anything. High trust societies tend to move through the world more easily. Okay. Now, what's the difference? The difference is, does the average person in that society trust the people around them? Does the average person in that society believe in the good of the people around them? When you have a society where people don't trust the people around them and don't believe in the good of the people around them, it is nearly impossible for anything to be done. And in fact, that mentality actually creates more criminality. This is things that they've researched and so forth, right? So a lot of the Nordic European countries, they're high trust societies. You understand? They generally trust each other, right? I'll say like America kind of falls somewhere closer to the middle. You understand, or the upper middle. From everything I've seen, Nigeria is a very low trust society. We don't trust each other at all, right? And a lot of that lack of trust is absolutely unfounded. It's completely unfounded. It's not based on reality, right? We're very hyperbolic. We like to exaggerate. You understand? And that hyperbolic thinking and behavior has actually created a very low trust society. I'll use this example. The first government, the post-colonial government, right? Tafawa Balewa, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and I think it was just Balewa and Azikiwe. I don't think Awolowo was an opposition. So Balewa and Azikiwe, when there was a coup, the coup plotters came under the pretense of this government is corrupt. These people are corrupt, right? But Balewa didn't own shoes. But the prime minister of Nigeria didn't own a pair of shoes. He lived on a dirt floor, and the coup plotters said that he was being corrupt. Nnamdi Azikiwe was what we would now call maybe upper middle class, but he was upper middle class before he got into government. He was he didn't build a new house. He didn't buy a new car. There was nothing new came into his life from politics. In fact, the politics slowed down his business and his other pursuits. You understand? But they accused of the same all of them were accused of corruption, right? So that first set of coup plotters, they say everybody's corrupt, that's why we're taking over. You understand? Taking over because everybody's corrupt. The next one says that we're taking over because they keep doing this over and over and over. Now, if I'm a child and I'm sitting here and I'm hearing all of this and I'm growing up decades and decades and decades, right? And I have the aspiration to get into politics, but I keep hearing this one's corrupt, this one's corrupt, this one's corrupt. Let me do this. In fact, if there's two children and one's a thief and one's not a thief, and you keep hearing about this corruption, the non-thief will go look for something else to do because he says, okay, this is a den of thieves. I don't want to do this. You understand? But the child that's growing up hearing that these people are stealing money, he's a thief, he's excited. He wants to get into this so he can get his share too, right? So when he comes in there, he's going to come at this corruption with a level of brazenness that the previous people didn't have, right? At the same time, when the first coup plotter said that Azikiwe and Balewa were stealing the money, right? And let's say somebody under them takes a little bit, skims a little money for themselves. Well, they're not going to feel that guilty. The people before, they were so corrupt. I'm less corrupt than them. Meanwhile, you're actually more because you were lying initially, right? But now you've introduced this thing to the system. The next people come and say, oh, they were skimming. Okay, let me skim my own too. Let me skim my own too. So this is how low trust societies create low trust situations. You understand? Low trust societies create low trust situations. There are now, the West has transitioned from a very low trust society to a higher trust society. And now a lot of places in like here in America where I live, you'll see these shops where people will just have items out, just the same thing I described in Africa. They'll have items for sale, they'll have a cash register, and then they'll just leave it outside. And then people can come and take a drink and pay for it, and nobody is watching them. They just goes off an honor system, right? And the capacity to achieve that honor system, the capacity to do that, that's how you build, and that's how you connect, and that's how you make things happen. So in Africa, we went from high trust and degenerate to low trust. And the West has gone from low trust and is transitioning to high trust, right? Another thing to look at too, like in this Western system, every city in America has a public library. Every single city in America has a every small town, it can be 500 people, there'll be a library. And it's going to be in the center of the city, the center. One, because of what the library is. It's a temple to knowledge, a shrine of knowledge, right? And if you have a shrine of knowledge in your town, you will have knowledge, you'll have wisdom, you'll have understanding in that city, right? In that vicinity. If you don't, then good luck, right? It's just not going to happen. But one of the other things that the library is there for is actually an informal education system, and not from reading the books. They want children to go there, take a book, take it home, and then bring it back when they're supposed to. And that is a way of conditioning you to behave in a high trust way. So that now that you're an adult, when we put duties in your hand, you'll achieve the duty, come back and give us what you're supposed to give us without anybody having to supervise you or force you or anything like that. So that trust thing, one of the things I want to start, or maybe not want to, I've already started kind of, is I'm going to start working in my own capacity, as little as it may be, in helping our society at home transition back into a high trust society by re-implementing these things that we used to do that created that situation.
Thank you so much for that, Derick. You see, the conversation with you is always very interesting and highly educational. Because, okay, now let's look back to the foundation of why the Igbo apprenticeship system works. Because there are reasons why things work. We're not just talking about the fact that, okay, this is a good system. No, we're also deconstructing it to help the people understand why it works. And from your understanding, as somebody who is listening to you, come to understand that it works for a reason, because there is a trust system. That is how the credit system works. That is how you are able to go to the bank and say, give me $1 million, I will pay you. The bank give it to you because there are systems that make it that you will pay back. Because you don't have the money to pay back right now, but they look at all the parameters around you, the story, they know that, okay, you are going to be able to pay back. There is a guarantee. In many other climes, they produce a new car today. You can go there and say, give me the car, I will take it home. You don't need to pay any money, but you will eventually pay. You can't run away with this money. They know that you can't run away with it. So we are talking about African system now that make it, okay, you see, before, I will tell you that I'm going to make a comparison between the Igbo Apprenticeship system in the eastern part of the country and what we might have also in the southern part. Okay, we are not even far away from the Igbo culture now. Okay, let's talk about what you were referring to in the market, that somebody brought maybe a bunch of banana and left it there and the person leaves. Another person who needs the banana come and take banana and put the equivalent cost of the banana there and the person leaves too. The person who owns it, because the system is so structured and organized, without a telecamera watching it, is able to come back and get the money and leave. Everybody is happy. This is not a futuristic event. This have happened in Africa. So this is why I'm saying again that the evolution that we currently have today hasn't gotten to that level yet. Okay, now there is this story that we were told in my part of ASAM, that there was this time in the past, it doesn't happen now anymore, that you will go deep in the forest. Deep in the forest, there are sorts of consequences in the fact that you need water, you will be thirsty. Somebody will go fetch water and put it by the roadside with the idea that a stranger will be passing by who will be thirsty of water. This stranger will come, maybe he's moving from a city to another city or from a place to another place, he's passing this road. He will get to this point, he will see this water, he will open it, he will drink from it. And sometimes he will leave an offering there. But let's try to deconstruct that thing that might seem is very normal. But why is it not normal today? It's no longer normal today. This is a contribution to a society to make it functioning, that I have a role, you have a role, I play my part, you play your part, it makes the society go on. Okay, it's the same Nigeria today, where this thing have happened before. It is a ASAM land. It is any other part of the country, if you see water like that, you will not drink. Why? Because of lack of trust. Okay, what is the first question that will come to your mind by the time you see water there? You say, they might have put poison now. What if they poison this water and I drink it, I die? But why did we not put poison before? I want somebody to reflect back to what Dr. Chinua Achebe was saying in the book, Things Fall Apart, that they have put a knife in that thing that is holding us together. Everything is falling apart. You see, everything is falling apart, but there are those still elements there. I remember I was interviewing a professor of development in Ibadan University that was asking him, what can we do in Nigeria? And he was telling me something to the effect that we need to go back again and recompose the society. It cannot go on like this. We cannot find a solution going forward like this. We need to go back and look at our value. And this is what the young people of Nigeria will do, because this country belongs to them. They are the owner of this country. And it's not that they are the owner to destroy it or to consume it. They will also leave it to those who are going to come, because we are on this perpetual journey. So that we need to go and find those values, because they are still there. You see, Derick, you said that even though this swearing of oath is no longer something that we do in the open, our politicians still actually do it. That is how they are able to maintain the bond. Many of them will go in the name of the secret code belonging to the red or the yellow or the white, but they go there to swear an oath that they will. They're not going there to swear the Bible or the Quran, because they know that if they swear the Bible or the Quran, they will still betray themselves. But they go there to the shrine. Whatever is it that they call themselves, they will drink to their ancestors and say, we swore that we're going to defend ourselves by this blood. Which is to say, if it can work for them, it can work for the entire society. Why don't you just do that? We want to swear in the president. We take it to the shrine. We say, you will swear that you will defend this country. Because if Buhari have sworn that kind of oath, nobody, he will get off his table by, that is something will move him from his chair to take action.
Yeah.
Because the country is in decay today. But if you swear by the Bible, you swear by the Quran, you swear by the Constitution, you know that nothing will happen to you. You will do nothing about it. So the question I'm asking you, Derick, is, this is a question I'm asking the professor there. Professor, what is the name again? Adesina, that is his name. Professor, assistant professor, no, it's an associate professor in Ibadan University. How do we go back again to recompose this system? Because everything is still here. All the information we need to rebuild Nigeria, to rebuild Africa, it hasn't gone anywhere. But how do we go there to recover this information?
Yeah, man, such a good question. Such a good question, right? For each of us, our chief will give us our contribution to this big thing, right? Whatever our contribution is, we already have it. So I always tell people, it's always the thing that's itching you the most, the thing that you complain about the most in the world, right? What complaining is this belief that power exists outside of yourself. So you need to just lobby and lobby and lobby until somebody does something about it, right? So you notice in Nigeria, there's a lot of complaining. People complain a lot. We're a high complaint society, right? But that comes from believing that the capacity to do exists outside of myself. And if I keep, all I could really do is complain. It's like when it's like a baby starts crying, right? Maybe a baby, their neck itches, and instead of itching, they'll just start crying so that the power that exists outside of them will come and itch it for them or come and soothe them somehow, right? And so first and foremost, if we don't like the current situation that we're in, there's some type of contribution that we have towards fixing it and moving in a direction that we know is right and we know it should be, right? So whatever it is that's bothering you the most as a person, just face that particular issue. And trust me, you have the capacity. I'm not saying this to be a motivational speaker. This isn't anything like that. This is just the absolute truth. Whatever it is, like I myself, it was itching me that a lot of people didn't understand or know our traditions. So I got on YouTube and I started talking about them. Now, I think over 1 million people have watched my videos. So somebody somewhere at home has learned from me, right? Mission accomplished to an extent. I'm going to keep going, right? But mission accomplished to an extent, right? So in the past, can we ever imagine a situation where you teach 1 million people anything at one time? No. In your own home, comfortably, right? So the capacity is there. The capacity is whatever is bothering you the most. Go face specifically that issue. Don't worry about everything and fixing it. I'm going to fix it. The specific thing that you think is most important, face that. The first and foremost, right? First and foremost. The next thing I'm going to say is we adults, and Obehi, you know this, we're doomed. You understand? We're doomed. Forget about us. You understand? We have a generation of children that are coming up, okay? But we're doomed. Now we're doomed enough to know that we have a problem and we need to fix it. The children don't know yet, but we're doomed enough to know that we have a problem and we need to fix it. So begin by educating the children in our traditions. Begin by educating unapologetically. Unapologetically. Right now, my children know how to address their ancestors. They know how to break Oji, they'll break Kola. They know the deep aspects of they know that's their formative education. That is, for me, that is all the stuff they're doing in school is extra. You understand? But because I'm teaching them the ancestral thing, the one I'm teaching them, the way they move through school is like it's like a hot knife through butter. It's easier for them. Why? Because they're grounded in something more profound. So I don't have to tell my son, oh, make sure you behave yourself. Within himself, he already knows the thing it takes to behave is natural to him. Within himself, because he was taught that tradition, right? If you notice if you really look at our cultures, we have laws in our communities, things like that. But we understand that it's character that actually governs a community, not the external law you put on people. You can say, oh, in such and such state in Nigeria, it's illegal to dump trash. But if the people within themselves don't have the character not to do that, they'll dump the trash. There's nothing you can do, right? There's nothing that'll happen. If you list all the laws in Nigeria, Nigeria has probably one of the best, not probably, Nigeria has one of the best legal systems on planet Earth, right? But in a lot of places, these laws aren't being followed because it's not in the character. You understand, right? And so forget about the adults. We're doomed. We're 100. And in fact, when the adults see the children, they start adjusting. Many of the adults in my life, if you talk to them now, you'll think that they're DBS. Prior, they were church mothers and church fathers and things like that. I thought that I would get a lot of condemnation doing what I'm doing because there's a stigma. But the only negative comments I get, and I think I said this in another interview, the only negative comment I get is I mispronounced this thing or I mispronounced that thing because I grew up in America, right? But the things that I'm actually saying, people from the religious ones to the non-religious ones, they're behind me because we know that we messed up. We know that we lost the way and we know what the road is. So forget about the adults. Go and teach the children. Go take them to, this is the river that your ancestors used to use to connect to the universe and their creator and each other. This is this tradition, that is that tradition, right? And that kind of thing. Another thing is to, in the process of focusing on the children, like this is my master plan. I'm going to give you guys my master plan so that if something happens to me, somebody else can go and do it. But I'm already in the process of doing it, right? So I am in the process of building a system of libraries. Right, I'm building a system of libraries. I'm starting first with a school. Now, somebody who's abroad, this is not an expensive endeavor for us. Right, it's not an expensive endeavor. You can any of those bungalow schools you have in the village with, I'll use dollars, with $2,000, you can make something 3 times better than that what's there. What we understand the schools to be, right? And once that thing is built, so I have an agreement with the local government. We've actually been talking about it on my channel. I have agreement with the local government. My family helped me procure this. That I get to be like a custodian, like a caretaker for the school I used to go to when I was at home. That school had no roof. At this point, had holes in the roof, holes in the floor. Parents stopped taking their kids there because it was so dilapidated, right? And all of our communities, there's a school, there's 10 schools in that same condition, all of our communities, right? So the one I'm doing is even difficult, where I'm using, anytime I make a little money, I send it over. We've even had on my Patreon and on my YouTube channel, we did a fundraiser on my birthday. We raised, I think, $400 some, and that $400 some was enough to lay a foundation and begin the construction process. Before, nobody in America would think $400 can do anything. You understand? So in the process of doing that, but the agreement is I get to determine what's being taught at that school. And they're learning all of these traditions that they're going to learn all the other stuff too, but they're learning all these traditions that I'm talking about. And I'm also implementing programs to increase trust, to increase the capacity for these children to trust each other and trust the world and see the good in people before the bad, right? And here's one of them. In Igbo culture, there's this ilu that says, greet the blind man, I'll say it in English, greet the blind and the deaf man when you see him. Because if he doesn't hear, the earth and the sky hear, right? That's the ilu, that's the proverb that they use, right? So when you see people, Odinani people, traditional people, when you see them going to a river and praying, they're thanking that river for water. They're thanking that river for life. When you see them go to the forest and the earth and pray, they're thanking that forest for food. They're thanking that forest for life. When you see them doing it to the sun, but then if you think in a Western way, you think, oh, they're talking to the river god. Oh, they're talking to the land god. They're talking to the sky god, the river god. All that's a misinterpretation of what's going on, right? It's a misinterpretation. That I'm going to go to this river that has sustained my family for thousands of years, and I'm going to say thanks, and I'm going to give the river something back, right? That act creates a high trust society. That very act. Because if I can show gratitude to something that won't turn around to me and say, thank you, Derick, I appreciate these fruits, right? I'm not doing it to receive something back. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to say. If you gave me a glass of water, I would say thank you. So why won't I say thank you to this river that's been giving me water this whole time? Why won't I say good morning to the blind man? These small things, when they now come into adult duties, right? When they now come into us giving you an assignment or something that you're supposed to do within society, being untrustworthy is not even it's going to be hard for you to do that because it's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. Yeah, you've been operating this way without nobody's forcing you to. But you're saying thank you to the tree. You're saying thank you to the sun. You're saying thank you to the sky. You're saying thank you to the air, right? So if that's your character already, you'll operate differently politically. You'll operate differently in business. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that, and I really appreciate that. I think that is really at the fundamental as we are looking at some of the solutions to these challenges that we have. You see, for some time I have been wondering about this idea of giving back. Why is it that it's not very natural for the crop of Nigerians that we have today? It is natural for us because the Nigeria have never given something to us. So for us, it becomes almost impossible to give something to that Nigeria. But of course, in our local community, something have always been given to you. You know that. You know that anywhere you are coming from. But as a nation, the country have rarely ever give something to you in the sense that take it for being Nigeria. Let me give you an instance. If you are sick in Nigeria, if your family cannot afford to pay your medical bill, sorry, you are destined to die. But say you are sick in a country in Europe, you don't need to have money. They will take care of you first to be alive. If you are in a capitalist system like the United States, you will come to pay. But they will save you so that you will be alive. If this happens, by the time they raise the flag, it's not just only symbolic anymore. We need to defend it so that it can continue to sustain life. Now, I was saying something, I was looking at it, just reflecting when I was sort of new here, that the city organized a bus system, a transit system, that I'm not saying that it is a good thing that you enter without paying, but for the fact that they make it easy for you to even enter without beating you up and say, oh, you don't have money. Of course, you are going to pay. No, what I'm saying is that I think it is normal that we make it normal for people to receive from the state so that these people can also give back to the state because it's a relationship. We cannot just say an obligation on your part to do this for the country. The country also need to do something for you. I understand the whole idea that you need to give something to the country, but the country also need to give something back to you. Okay, I'm saying all this to mean that we need to put in the mind of the people the idea of receiving something. That because you are like this country decide that they amass something that they're going to give to you. And it becomes normal for you at the end of the day that you say, okay, let's defend this country because I have received so much from it in terms of education, in terms of knowledge, in terms of, I think it is normal for us to make it normal for people to receive something from the state. I don't know if I'm sort of overstating that.
I understand you 100%. I understand you 2,000%. The issue that particular issue comes from this, right? Pay attention to our traditional institutions and pay attention to our non-traditional institutions. Because what you described with that bus, right? If I go to my village market, I'm sure it's the same place, the same where you're from. If I go to my village market now, and for some reason, or let's say somebody's cooking akara and bread, right, or that kind of thing, and I say, okay, I don't have money right now. Let me come back tomorrow. The person will give me the akara and the bread, and I'll come back tomorrow. This is in the village, in the town. The town maybe is different. I didn't grow up in town, right? But I know that anybody when they go to your village, this is the same rule. If I go to in my village, there's this woman named Acharugo. She makes pepper soup. It's the best pepper soup in the world. And if you go to her place and eat pepper soup, even if you don't pay for 1 week, she maybe after 8 days, she'll send somebody to your house to ask you, hey, are you going to pay? That kind of thing. So we have that. If you look at the traditional institutions, that thing is still there, right? That thing is still there. And then you start doing these things that we imported from somewhere else. And it's fundamentally because we don't understand those things we imported. We don't understand. We don't understand. We don't. Let me not say we don't understand it, but the people that are operating it are mimicking. They don't have an ownership of it. They're just mimicking what they think they're supposed to do. Okay. They don't. When they put that hospital there, they don't know that the primary goal of that hospital is to make sure that the people in the town live and live long, live well and live long. Let me put it that way. That's the goal. That's why the hospital is there. Hospital, keyword, hospitality, right? That kind of thing. They don't understand. They think it's like maybe like a business. You understand? Which many hospitals are businesses. In the West, the hospitals can be businesses. But before it's a business, it has this particular obligation. Right? Now, how do we integrate what we are already doing with our more traditional institutions with the Western one? Right? Because one of the issues is we also don't respect the traditional one. So whatever the traditional thing is doing, it's wrong. If I can go to Acharugo and get 2 bowls of pepper soup and come back and pay in 5 days, it's perceived as she's doing something wrong. No matter what, the African thing is wrong, right? That's just what it is. That's the mentality. So all of these good things that people who knew more than us had been doing for thousands of years, we put it to the side as just wrong. Or if something else is presented, we can engage in it. But once something else is presented, we jump to the other thing, or we assume we have something to learn from that other thing, but nothing to learn from the other. Right? We associate our traditions with poverty. We associate them with not being educated, whatever that means. We associate them with everything we can possibly think that is bad for at this point, for no reason other than some type of head glitch. Something's wrong, right? Even in Nigeria, if you say local is an insult. In America, local is a compliment. Well, this is a local business. That means you're going to respect it more. That means that you're going to honor it more. That means that if they charge you a little more money, you'll gladly pay because you're supporting the local community. But if I say local business in Nigeria, the person will come and fight me that I call this business local, right? So it's the first thing we have to do is we have to learn to start respecting the things that we already have and understand that we have something. Okay. And then now that we have something and we respect it, we can now start integrating our natural African way of being into these other things that we've adopted. Because I've never heard of somebody going to a dibia and dying because they didn't have money. It has never happened. It has never happened in the world. The way a dibia operates is how much do you have? Okay, I have this much. Okay, no problem. Give me that one and we'll do what we can. So if a rich man goes to a dibia, he pays more. If a poor man goes to a dibia, he pays less. You understand? That's our system. That's the way we do it. Because the dibia is not there to collect money. The dibia is there because their chief brought them in the world to heal people. And part of their fault is making sure that people are getting healed when they come to them. So it's deeper than and if they continue to do that, the money will come. The money will, if I continue doing that, it doesn't matter. Once I stop doing that, even if I charge $10,000 and somebody comes and pays that $10,000, I'll be poor. I'll suffer in this world. That money will seep through my hands. We see it happen all the time because I broke my pact with my all. So first and foremost, let us respect the ones we have. It doesn't mean we can't have anything else, but let's start from a position of respecting the ones we have and understanding that what we have has more wisdom than we as human beings have, than we as individuals have. And we have more to learn from it than we can teach it, right? And we started by talking about the Odibo system. I'm going to let you know now, until the year 2015, every person that participated in that Odibo system was laughed at nationally. They laughed. They were looked down on. They were laughed at. Oh, this one didn't go to school. This one didn't go to school. Like this, look at this town, Nnewi, right? I'll use Nnewi in Igbo land. Nnewi is notorious because their Odibo system is so strong. They never played with that thing. But we used to laugh at I'm not going to say we, but I'll say we, because I wasn't involved. I knew it was stupid. People used to laugh at we people that they don't go to school. They're not educated. They don't go to school. They're not educated. They're just traders. They're just traders. Now they're building cars in Nnewi. They're building any technological implement you can think of is being built in Nnewi right now. Nnewi, that's supposed to be a village, is now a town, and it's a city, and it's one of the biggest cities in Anambra. Why is it one of the biggest cities in Anambra? Because they didn't let go of that thing that works, and they respected it. They respected it. Everybody else, they did it because, okay, fine, I'm poor, I'll do it. Okay, fine, I couldn't finish school, I didn't have enough school fees, I'll do that kind of thing. It's just now that the rest of the world has now heard about apprenticeship system that we now respect it, because honestly, because white people have given educated people permission to now accept it. They usually have to wait for white people to say that things are okay before they say, okay, it's okay. You understand? Oh, Harvard is looking at OD. Oh, wow, we have the Igbo Apprenticeship system. Harvard is looking at it. Whoa. 1 year before Harvard looked at it, they were laughing at people for being traitors. So let's stop this thing where we're just what comes out of African hands is bad, and what comes out of Igbo is good. That's the beginning. Then we can now integrate that. Okay, maybe I'm not a trader, but I can use this Odibo psychology to run my software business. I can use this Odibo mentality to run this. I can use it to do all these different things. I can build this African trust system in my hospital. I can do my hospital the way Adibia does their work. Because everybody at home knows that the traditional one it works. It's just because of church that we're afraid to go. But the hospital one, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't work. But we know there's not one African you'll find that'll tell you that traditional one doesn't work, especially if they've gone and done it. So that's kind of the way I see it.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate your sacrifice, what you're doing there. Of course, you are responding to your call. I've done a lot of interview, particularly also of the Yoruba extraction, where they have talked a lot about Ori, like we talk about Chi, like we talk about Ehi in Esan. These are really fundamentals about our being, about who we are in response to where we are. And these are really very important. And I thank all of you that are taking the time to explain this, because we're living in a world where confusion is the order of the day. So it is important, fundamentally important, that we look for individuals who are able to show the way for other people. This is not just because you are doing this, you will be the richest person in the world. Of course, you can still be. But the point is, you are responding to your call. Because all of us have a call here. What you are doing is not what I'm doing. And it doesn't have to be like that. I said to people, yesterday I was having this interview with a guest from New Zealand. I was reminding her that, you see, it has been proven that since humanity show up on Earth now, will be about 100 billion people on Earth. And today, we're about 8 billion people living. And I said to her, because I said it quite often about when I talk about storytelling, that if you take a look at this 100 billion people, plus those that are living today, 8 billion people, each of us is unique. None of us is a copy of another person. So it would be a mistake for us to copy another person, because if nature make you unique, which means you are definitely one, there is no other copy of you in the entire universe. It will be a mistake for you to be copy another person. So that the best job that we can do is to find, why am I here? What is my mission? What am I supposed to do to contribute to this entire cosmos? Of course, starting from where you are. Because by the time you do that, when people usually die in their old age, we hope that all of us will die in our old age. It will be said, rest in peace. It is rest in peace because you have done the work that you're supposed to do. You can't say rest in peace to a child. When a child dies, we usually cry. Yeah. Of course, when an elderly person dies, we still cry because of the affection. But usually at that moment, sometimes we also need to rejoice because the individual have done what he is supposed to do. He has gone to join the ancestors. You see, when a king died in my place, we don't say a king died. We say Ozukbombo. Ozukbombo meaning he have chosen an heir, somebody who is going to carry on. So we don't usually supposed to be crying that moment, because if you have done what you are supposed to do, we just need to rejoice. You need to rest in peace. So before you can rest in peace, therefore, you need to do something. What are you supposed to do? Why are you here? Because if you are just copying another person now, then you are going to become fake. Because that person is going to be original. You have left your originality to copy somebody, so you become original fake. Anyway, where I want to go here, Derick, is Because we know that everything we have here is still here. I was interviewing a spiritualist. This is an expert of spirituality, African spirituality from Congo. I've done more than 5 interviews with him, very serious one. And he said to me, because I was asking him this question, what do we do now? And he was saying, we haven't lost all the hope. We still have hope. And I strongly believe in that we still can do it. We still can go and recover those knowledge that we need. Because you see, I was also interviewing because I've done more than 1,000 episodes here. So I've interviewed this guy. Is in the US. I think he's in California, but it's an Igbo person. He was teaching me about the Afa knowledge system, which is actually baked into technology of today, which is a means of communication by our ancestors. Now we are using tech to communicate, but what does it even mean, communication? How did our ancestors do it? So I am saying that we have this, the knowledge hasn't gone anywhere. They are still here. So how do we go to tap those knowledge and make it available for people to sort of get used to? Because we need to reconfigure the system now. My professor, a guest, was right in Ibadan University that we need to reconfigure the system. What do you suggest to us, particularly because now we have a lot of content creators in Nigeria, to use a particular country, but all across Africa and the rest of the world. Where should we start from?
Yeah, the first thing is we have to stop being afraid to do that. We have to let's stop being afraid of owning our experience, right? So that when we build this school, we're building the school out of a place of low confidence. And because we're building it out of a place of low confidence, we're going to copy whatever we think is better than us. We're going to copy the people we think are better than us, right? We're going to copy the people who maybe did it somewhere else because the local one is bad, remember? So we're that kind of thing, right? And then we build these schools that don't serve the local need, that don't serve the local reality, that don't serve the local purpose. People are not learning things that make sense to them existentially as African people, right? So let's look at China. China is a big success story that we're all aware of, right? So China, of course, becomes what we now know because of Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong takes over, and his initial plan was to copy the USSR, to copy Western communism. Okay, to copy Western communism. And he takes over, he, restructures society based off Western communism. And the people in his party start seeing that doesn't work here. It doesn't work here. That when Karl Marx is talking about the proletariat in Western communism, talking about the urban, semi-educated, working class person who sells their labor for money. And in China, this is a peasant society at the time, that most people are peasants. Most people aren't workers, and peasants are not proletariat. Peasants don't sell their labor. They can if they want to, they don't have to. Peasants grow and they get their sustenance from the land. Okay. And so, maybe copying them directly doesn't make sense over here, because what they were doing was they were doing what made sense for their reality. So let's talk about my reality. Okay, my version of this thing will be more focused on peasants than the working urban person that sells that looks for employment, that looks for labor. You understand? And in making it for peasants, I'm going to structure it one way. So that's one way. Then the next wave of leaders in that China say, okay, we had this thing in the past, and it made us one of the most successful civilizations of all time. We had this thing in the past, right, called Confucianism. And it structured our society in a way that we operate this way. These are our values. This is this and this and that. What if we use these principles to guide everything we do going forward? Because in the end of the day, we're governing Chinese people. And the people who put this system together were not fools. They weren't evil. They weren't misled. They were doing what worked for thousands of years. So they started integrating this Confucianism into the way they educate. That's why testing is so important in China. That's why there's such a high pressure to get good misbehaving in class. The Confucianism emphasizes that you have to listen to authority and things like that. That's why just the emphasis on technology and moving the society forward and all that thing is all a part of their ancient. It's not modern. They didn't learn it for the Europeans. It's ancient. Their ancient way of thinking was Confucianism. And they integrated it into the schools and integrated it into the hospital. If you go to a modern Chinese hospital, you will receive Chinese indigenous traditional medicine. Why? Because it works. We know our traditional medicine works. But before we go there, we say, I don't know. Okay, fine, I'll go. But there's immediately, you have a headache, okay, this, boom. You can go to university and study acupuncture. That's their ancient medicine. You can go, and they integrated the old and the new, and it became one thing because they were willing to solve the problem. They're focused on solving their own problems. They're not focused on mimicking. In Africa, we're focused on mimicking. We're not focused on solving our own problems, right? I'll put it this way. Nigeria has the most successful tourism industry on planet Earth. I'll say it again. The country of Nigeria has the most successful tourism industry on planet Earth. But because we do tourism in a Nigerian way and it doesn't look Western, we don't call it tourism. That thing that we call December time, that everybody goes back to Nigeria. You understand, if they can, that kind of thing. It receives more visitors than Mecca. It receives more visitors than Paris, France. It receives more visitors than Dubai. But we don't call it tour because there's Black people doing, who cares, right? So you see the government, we're doing a new initiative about tourism, and it'll just be building these things that Westerners like. We'll be building things that Western, and nobody goes to the thing and it rots away, right? I commend the Obudu Cattle Ranch. I commend it. Why the hell would I fly in from America to go see cows when my grandmother is right here? When my aunt I haven't seen in 3 years is right here. I'm going to go over here and go see cows. That's not the way we do our tourism. So instead, just acknowledge the reality. Oh, actually, we do tourism. We should do it different. And then integrate, start working with that system, start making that system more conducive for what we want it to be, Okay? Stop mimicking. What you said earlier was, I had a clap. It was profound. 100 billion people have existed. None of them are the same. There's a reason for that. Right now, we have over 200 countries in the world, maybe over 100 countries in the world, right? None of them are the same. There's a reason for that. So in order for us to start reforming these systems, we have to take them as we have them now and say, you know what do I want this thing to be? It's a very simple question. What an American believes an educated American should be is different from what an Italian thinks an educated Italian should be. These are two NATO European Western or European derived Western countries, right? So what do we in at home want an educated person to be? What does that mean? What do we need this person to be? Okay, let's form the education system around that idea. What do we want a hospital to really be? What do we want to receive from this place? Okay, let's start forming around it. What do we want our leaders to be? What do we want our government systems to be? Let's start forming that. The first step, I think, people who are interested should organize. People who are of similar mind should organize. And we should organize in our own native way, not this bullshit we always try to do to copy the West. Sorry for cursing our channel, to copy the West, and then we start fighting each other, right? Organize in our own traditional way, own traditional way. Who's going to lead? Okay, let's vote. The person, this is a leader. That person has to go swear off phone. If they're scared, to get them out of the organization. They're not serious, right? That's step number one. The people who have the right mind need to organize. And they need to start finding ways they have access to institutions and begin to influence them. Like now, I'm one person. I'm trying to build a simple school at home that teaches these things. And I'm going to use the school as a model because I want, in the end, the children who go through that school, any academic competition, they'll be able to beat anybody in the country. And I'm going to show that because I know what our ancestors can do, right? And so just that's what I can do in my own capacity. A group of right now I've been working on this school since since maybe October, right? 10 people together, they can move 10 times faster than I'm moving. I'm just doing this to show an example. So those who are like-minded need to start organizing each other, getting with each other, and begin implementing these things where they see fit, and molding things to meet their wants and their need, which is what the Chinese are doing, which is what the Europeans are doing for themselves, and what we need to start doing for ourselves too. And we're just trying to look for which one to copy. We don't know why we're called. We don't know what the hell they were saying when they did it. We just want to mimic them, and it doesn't work. So that's what I was.
It's really inspiring, particularly for the younger people out there who have more time, because you did say that our generation we are doomed, no? Because why you are right is because it takes a lot of time to fix something. People don't understand that. They think I will just do it today, tomorrow the result is no, it's not like that. If you want to fix Nigeria, it takes a lot of time, even if you have the resources. So the people that are really going to enjoy Nigeria, if we start facing in this moment, are not even us, because we are still going to be very hardworking to build, because we need to build. Except maybe you are thinking that you are going to do miracle. I don't believe in miracle. I think we need to do the hard work. Our infrastructure, our road, our network, our building. I'm talking of the physical thing, but there are the invisible thing, the trust, the believing in ourselves, the being able to work. Because no matter how powerful you are, if you are not working toward the same direction, no matter the energy you have, you will waste it for nothing. Because you can build a monumental project, like for example, like they did. What is it? In river, is it a river across in Calabar? Very massive tourism project. No, what become of it today? Is waste.
Right.
It's not because of. It's not because we don't have the. Okay, you see, Nigeria is really very powerful as a country. We can build anything that we want. It's not that. That is not the problem. The question is, do we have the character to be able to sustain that after we build it?
Yes. Yeah.
Or some other person, you see, why is it that a small town like for example in Uromi, we can have a subway system? It's not impossible to do, because it's not even very expensive. Because go to what you have in other cities. What does it cost to have a train running? They will give you the figure. The figure is there. It's something that we can build all across the length and breadth of Nigeria. But after we build it, do we have the character to maintain it, to say this is our own? Or do we spend all this money that tomorrow we will still go there and steal it? We will start cutting the wire like they are doing now and selling it, because I want to make more money. Okay, or we'll say, oh, it's my father that owns this land. We'll say, okay, I revoke it. Then let's destroy it. Let's share the money. If we do it like that, even if you build 300 stories, we will destroy it again and say, okay, let's build it again. We'll destroy it, then let's build it again. We are not going anywhere. But if we have focus, if we have the character, even if we have nothing, we will build it.
Yes.
So please. Yeah.
No, I mean you just got me going, and it's funny. The example that you're using is perfect. You know what I mean? That's why we're saying that. I'm saying the older generations are doomed. Anything that we're doing, we need to focus on educating and preparing the younger people. Those of us within our generation that are going to have enough sense to snap out of all this brainwashing that we've undergone and all this character destruction that we've put on ourselves, we're going to be few. There's not going to be a lot of people, right? So we can't expect that we're going to gather 100 people and it's going to work. But there's another thing too. We can do great things in this world if we forget. It's going to be hard for people to imagine. If we forget about money. We can't do if we don't. The first step, number one, forget about money. It doesn't mean forget about enriching yourself. It doesn't mean forget about the fact that things cost things. No. Money is an energy. It's an energy. Money is an energy. The only thing money is one form of energy that makes something happen. So if I want a water fountain built in front of my house, I can take money and make that thing happen. Knowledge is also another form of energy. Trust is also another form of energy. Charisma is also another form of energy. What's another one? Duty, a sense of duty is also another form of energy. Excitement is another form of energy. If I take some money and I pay someone to build me a fountain in front of my house, the fountain will be built. If I gather 20, if I gather 5 people, young men and women, old men and women, and I get them excited about this fountain, I get them excited. I say, we're going to wake up in the morning. We're going to do it on this day. We're going to do it on this day. I get them going. They'll build the goddamn fountain. I'm sorry for cussing. They'll build the fountain. The same way the money made the thing happen, the excitement also made that thing happen. Okay? Maybe they maybe I've done so much good for them that they want to honor me somehow. They build this thing. So my good deeds also made this thing happen. We can make a lot happen, whether the energy we use is money or whether the energy we use is something else, right? When I touch down on the ground, there's a project I'm going to do, right? Outside of school thing, right? And I'm going to get the thing done by just excitement. I just want to show that these things can be done with just getting people excited, right? Now, unfortunately, sometimes I'm not the messenger for this because I'm the one coming from Obehi, right? So I'll be expected to pay regardless, right? But I want to show that there are different ways of making things happen because a lot of us, we don't have the money. Like what you said is correct. A subway system is not that expensive in the grand scheme of things. Every state government in Nigeria can build a subway system based on how much money they have. There's some individuals in our towns can build the thing, right? Just a simple one. You understand? But even when you have the money, sometimes you don't have the idea. So the person that has the idea is wealthy. The person that has the idea is wealthy because the person that has the money can't afford to build this thing because they don't have what it takes. They don't have what it takes to make that thing happen by not having the idea. Yeah, I have the money, but I don't have the idea. The person that has high character is wealthy. And here's another thing people don't know. You can exchange one form of energy for another. There's this, one of my cousins, she is the most honest person that anybody will ever meet. So before she was married, I'll say she was a wealthy woman and she was born poor. Why was she wealthy? Because every single person knew that if you gave her money to do something, it would get done and there would be no questions asked. So all the people abroad, all the people in different cities, whenever they need something, they would send money to her and they pay her for doing what she did. Her character, she used her good character and exchanged it for money, which is fine. And she got the money she needed and she lives a good life. You understand, right? You can use your idea. People use their ideas and they exchange it for money, which is fine. That's normal. People have an idea and they meet the person with money and the two currents create a spark and something happens. Some people have an idea and they don't need the money because maybe they have the charisma, right? Maybe they have the charisma. You understand? Again, when we talk about these things, we have to also talk about what it takes to make it happen. And we're all stuck in this idea that we need money. And it has to be the money. We need money, right? Sometimes if you just get enough people committed, it's the same thing the money would have done. The money makes people commit. But there are other ways to make people commit. And you can get things done. And that achievement, for a lot of people now, people need to eat, of course. But that achievement itself, when they pass away, when a person passes, that's what's going to be, that's what matters. That's what makes you somebody in the world, is that you made something happen. Is that you left this place and there was a difference. There was an impact. You pressed the ground and there was a footprint. You understand? Sometimes it requires money. Most of the times it doesn't. Most of the time it doesn't. Money is a substitute for character, trust, excitement, commitment, all these different things. So those of us who are good at getting people to move, that's currency, that's a wealth, and you can exchange that for actual impact in the world. So once we have that in mind, right? Because when it comes to just being able to talk, you're not going to beat a Nigerian. If you do anywhere in Nigeria, we're good at that. It's natural, right? So that's wealth. That thing is use that and make things move in one direction or
Absolutely.
another.
Thank you
That's
so
it.
much for that, brother. I appreciate you. So, what would be your final thought here to conclude the conversation? And please tell the people how to find you, how to support your project, and how to follow you. Please go ahead briefly.
Yeah. So you can anything I do, just type the medicine shell, the medicine and then shell. And spelt regularly. You'll see a little yellow logo. That's me. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/the medicine shell. On our Patreon, we have like classes. So we twice a month we sit down and we all discuss different topics and things like that. The Patreon also has access to my research library. So just hundreds of books on these topics that I'm talking about, Igbo spirituality, cosmology. I have opened a folder there with like cosmological systems from all over Africa. So we have the Yoruba system. We have the Hoodoo system, that is the Black American spiritual system, Obehi Santeria, all that. We have all of that in there. And it's also just a community. So those are the two best places to find me. And yeah, that's really it.
Thank you so much for that. Of course, those of you that are listening to us, I want you to please check out what Derick is doing. Of course, you have listened to him to this point. I'm sure you see value in what he's doing, because we so much believe in collaboration here. You see how he breaks down that different energy that we have. Also, one other energy that we also have is the spirit of collaboration, being able to work together. That is also a very huge capital, which of course, so that you will refer to as a social capital. That is very important too. Because if you only have money, so that I say to people, it's not to disrespect those that have money. Money is very important. Nobody can disrespect that or disregard that. But you need to understand that the person who have social capital will always be the person that have money any day. Because take a look at it. Think of it for a moment. Say maybe, for example, you are locked in a room with bundles of money. Let's say the room full of money, you are left there alone to survive on your own. The other person is left with a group of people. They are locked in the same room. Who do you think is going to survive fast or easier? Or who do you think is even going to die? You will die with all your money inside, which is to say, it is not money that you really need. What you need are people who believe in you. If people believe in you, you can break down the wall and come out faster. Because with money is just paper. It's worthless. But of course, if you're able to use this correctly, by the time, depending on the way you are operating from, you'll be able to find your way around. But you will eventually still need people. It's like maybe, for example, you say, how do you usually resolve conflict? Conflict can not be resolved by fighting. Conflict can be resolved by talking. Because if you start fighting, at the point you say, okay, enough fighting. Let's go back to the round table. But if we could resolve it at the round table, of what use is the fighting? Let's better just go to the round table, resolve it, then we can avoid the fighting. Because the fighting, no conflict is ever resolved by fighting. It's always resolved at the round table. So whether you have money or you don't have money, you always need people. So instead, why don't you just concentrate on people instead of just the money? So I really thank you so much, Derick, for this sharing. And I also want to encourage people that if you are in Africa, you are in Nigeria, don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. We are going to be okay. We are going to make it. We are going to make it. But we doesn't mean just me or just you. Because life is not just me or you. It's about all of us. So all of us are going to make it. And we are binging this on the hope that all of us are connected. So we need to contribute to this continuous journey that one day is going to be okay. By the time you find it, you find the peace, or you are successful as Africa at one generation, then all of us are going to be successful. So as long as we are all contributing to that journey, we are all collectively successful in this. So thank you all of you for the time. I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Leave your comment. Let us know your thought about it. Let us know what you think about this conversation. And why don't share also with other people who might like what we are doing here. But maybe that is all you can do here, and that is good enough for us. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Derick.
Always an honor, man. You have a gift for this thing. So kind of thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, brother.